This is the Yoking 3 to 4 person automatic inflatable camping tent, and it turns setup into a 2-minute, press a button, walk away moment. I get a roomy, upright shelter without fighting poles, even when I roll in late or have a kid asking for snacks every half minute. I put this in the category of car camping comfort. It is for people who want a livable base without spending their first hour at camp threading poles in the dark. Families, solo parents, and newer campers who value convenience over shaving every ounce will get the most out of it. If you hike miles into the backcountry, this is not it. If you drive to the site and want an easy, reliable shelter that feels bigger than its footprint, this makes a lot of sense. Design-wise, it looks clean and simple. The body is a neutral beige that does not scream for attention, and the footprint is close to a square. It is roughly 7 feet by 7 feet, with a peak that is a little under 6 feet, which matters more than the exact numbers because the walls are nearly vertical. That shape makes the inside feel more like a tiny cabin than a sloped dome. I can move around, change clothes, and shuffle gear without crouching all the time. The fabric is a thicker Oxford weave with a silver interior coating. It feels more substantial than the paper-thin tents I used in the past, and that translates to better durability and a bit less heat glow when the sun is high. The floor is sturdy too, and the seams are heat-sealed so the stitching lines are not just covered, they are bonded to keep water out. The structure comes from air beams inside fabric sleeves. Inside those sleeves are bladders made from thermoplastic polyurethane. That material is flexible and tough, the same kind of thing you see in quality inflatable gear that has to bend, flex, and not crack. Doors are shaped like the letter D, with large mesh panels, and there are roof vents sitting high to dump warm, humid air. The zippers run smooth. I have yanked on them with sandy hands and never snagged one. The carry bag is long and chunky, about 26 by 10 by 9 inches, and the tent itself is around 6 kilograms or roughly 13 pounds, plus more when you add stakes and accessories. It is a trunk item, not a backpack item. Daily use comes down to the pump in the frame. I clear the ground, drop the tent, stake the 4 corners so it does not balloon away, and press one button. The integrated pump does the rest in around 2 minutes. I like that there is a pressure-limiting valve, so I am not hovering over it, worried I will overdo it. I have inflated it in a drizzle at dusk and just watched it stand up while I zipped jackets and pulled out sleeping bags. No pole puzzles, no threading sleeves. When I am alone, it is absolutely a one-person job. I have even set it up while juggling kid duty and it did not turn into a circus. Once it is standing, the comfort shows up quickly. That upright wall design gives me space to stand near the edges and actually use the corners for duffels or a small camp table. A queen-size air mattress fits along one axis with room for bags on the side. I have used it with 2 adults and a kid and felt like we had breathing room. With 3 adults it is still comfortable. 4 can work with slimmer pads and less gear, but 3 is where it feels balanced. Ventilation is strong. The 2 big doors and the mesh windows create a cross breeze, and those top vents let warm air escape. On humid nights, I did not wake up to a soggy ceiling. Condensation happens in any tent when the air is still, but the airflow here kept it from dripping on me. The silver-coated fabric also takes the edge off midday heat and blocks a bit of bright light, so I do not feel cooked when the sun is directly on it. Weather performance has been dependable for what I do, which is regular car camping with mixed conditions. In steady rain for a few hours, the fabric and seams stayed dry. The tent is rated to 3,000 millimeters of water resistance, which is a technical way of saying it can handle a solid, tall column of water pressing on it before leaking. In real life, that meant no drip lines along the seams, no wicking from the floor, and no panic in a normal storm. In gusty wind, the air beams flex and spring back. That bend is reassuring. I have had poles on other tents creak and make me wince. Here, I watched the tent lean into gusts and then settle without drama. There are quirks, and they are worth understanding. Air pressure changes with temperature. On a hot afternoon, pressure creeps up. At night when it cools, pressure drops. My routine is to give it a quick check morning and afternoon. I have let a little air out during a hot midday, and I have topped it off with one button in the cool morning. It takes seconds, and once you expect it, it is easy. Tear down is the one part that requires patience. Inflation is fast. Getting the last puffs of air out so it rolls into the bag takes a minute of doing it right. I open the valves, fold in thirds, and roll toward the openings while kneeling along the roll to push air out. If I rush this, I end up fighting the bag. If I take my time and do one clean roll, it slides in and I am done. For materials and durability, I was cautious at first because air beams can feel like a single point of failure. I have not had a puncture. I clear the ground carefully, and I use a footprint to protect the floor and the beam sleeves. I had one sagging beam moment that turned out to be a slightly loose valve cap. The kit includes a small tool. I tightened it, pressed the button, and it held pressure after that. The zippers have handled sand and kid traffic without complaint. The fabric has taken some brush and a dog paw or two without scuffs I can feel. Real-world use has covered a mix of trips. I set it up after dark at a drive-up site and appreciated that I was not doing a headlamp dance with poles and numbers. I used it on a breezy beach day, staked and guyed out, and it felt planted, not sketchy. I had a damp coastal night with heavy condensation in the air. The combination of roof vent and opposite door airflow kept the inside from raining on me, which is a win in my book. I have done a couple of shoulder season nights where the temperature dropped fast. The tent held up, and with a decent sleeping bag I was comfortable. I would not take it into a blizzard or an alpine storm. The brand hints at that, and my experience backs it up. I would call it a 3-season tent with a little extra margin into cooler months if the forecast is reasonable. A specific use case that sold me happened on a quick overnight with my kid. We rolled in after sunset, tired and hungry. I staked 4 corners, hit the button, and used those 2 minutes to pull food out of a cooler. The tent popped into shape. I threw a queen mattress in, and we were eating in 10 minutes. The doors are wide and low enough that I am not crawling through a tiny hole at 2 in the morning. The upright walls meant I could sit next to the mattress and sort clothes and snacks without bumping into the ceiling. That is the kind of real comfort that matters more than a long spec sheet. There are some smart touches that feel thought through. The one-button integrated pump paired with a pressure-limiting valve removes anxiety. I'm not babysitting a gauge or worrying about a burst seam. The air columns are double-layered in the sense that the bladder sits inside a protective sleeve, so the thing that holds air is not exposed to every scrape. The freestanding design helps when I am on hard ground where staking angles are limited. The tent comes with guylines and steel stakes that are actually solid, not throwaway. 2 short poles let me prop the door as a little awning, which adds shade and also works as a drip line when it is wet. The silver inner coating knocks down heat and ultraviolet a bit, which I appreciate on bright mornings. Power is the one thing to plan for. I treat the built-in pump the same way I treat lights and a speaker. I charge before a trip. I carry a small manual backup pump in the car. I have not needed it, but it is cheap insurance if I head off grid for a long time. That, along with the air pressure temperature habit and the slower roll-up, are the trade-offs I accept for the convenience I get. If you want a tent for backpacking or for extreme winter, this is not your pick. If you want a quick, low-stress shelter for car trips, music weekends, beach days, or family camping, it nails the basics and adds real livability. The interior feels larger than the footprint. The beams ride out gusts instead of fighting them. The fabric and seams have proven waterproof in regular storms. The pump does what it says without fuss, and the pressure valve takes away the worry. It is not perfect. It is bulkier than a pole tent. It depends on power, and you need a minute to pack it right. For me, those are fair asks for the time and energy I get back. If your camping looks like drive-up sites, late arrivals, and kids running in and out while you make dinner, this is an easy recommendation. If your plans include long hikes or severe winter storms, look elsewhere. For everyone in that wide middle, this is the tent that lets you hit a button, toss gear inside, and actually enjoy the evening. Check the comments of this video for a link to see the current pricing of the automatic inflatable camping tent. If this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with your questions or your own experience with inflatable tents. Thank you for watching.